Throw the slack, you fucking moron!
Hey, why don't you come over here? Hey, get over here, buddy. Welcome to Screen Share, a movie podcast about, just a flesh wound.
You have to speed that up in post.
Just a flesh wound, forget about it. I'm trying to match the vibe of the movie we're doing.
That's the vibe? Is this fucking Goodfellas?
Welcome to Screen Share, everybody. We're back with another epi. I'm here. My name's Adam Cook, and I'm also here with my second favorite co-host I've ever had, Calder Amos Wood.
Why did you say it that?
Why did I say what?
I'm your second favorite.
Well, because that's pretty high. You're top two,
Who's
man.
your first?
We don't have to disclose.
Is it because you went on that Ryan Seacrest show?
Yeah, man. I
And
love
then he taught you how to
Ryan.
be a man.
Dude, there's a clip that's been going around online of a guy. You've probably seen it. It's like a guy with a big beard, glasses, and anyway, and he's going, "You cannot be a beta. You cannot
I've
do
seen
it.
that guy,
It's the worst thing to do. Being a beta is death."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "But also be confident in yourself." And it's like, what the? Anyway, welcome to the pod. We're back. This is it's been a bit.
No, it's actually been just 1 week for them, so let's not break the
That's true.
Sort of zesturation of
Zesturation.
yeah,
Define it.
I forgot. Zesturation. It's when you've kind of you've got a melon tree in your backyard and you're it's dying and you gotta really take care of it or else it's gonna die and then your family's not gonna be able to eat for a long time because they only like the taste of melon.
We were about to record half an hour ago, and then Calder decided to spill a big drink.
I didn't spill a drink. I spilled the stinkiest pot of flowers that a man can have in his home.
Yeah.
What movie are we doing?
They know. They've seen the title.
Yeah, but this is part of the whole thing.
That's true.
Hey, we're talking about...
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Screen Share. My name's Adam Cook. We're here with Calder Amos Wood. My name... I just said it. What am I doing? Monty Python and the Holy Grail. We're continuing our comedies month. Last week, we did Wet Hot American Summer.
And it was a wet and a hot one, wasn't it? Not. Where we kind of just talked
and
about wanting to go to...
Star Spangled Banner at the end.
We kind of just talked about wanting to go to summer camp again.
Dude, I was talking to... I won't say any names, but I was talking to a relative of my girlfriend, and he said that he listened to our Step Brothers episode, and he was like, I was like, "Oh, was it a good episode?" And he was like, "Yeah, it was good. You didn't really talk about Step Brothers." I was like, "Yeah."
Well, because that all got cut out because Adam came over and touched my laptop a bunch, and it was
dude, if you're gonna blame it on me, be consistent. In the episode, you blame it on me burping into your
well,
USB
yeah, because your
port.
burps do have actual digital technology in them that you don't know about. Because,
I burp code.
Oh my god! It's what's it? I couldn't think of the word. You know, in the Matrix when he
Neo.
Nope. When he transcends into the Matrix and he sees the green text. Digital rain? I think it's called digital rain.
It's not called digital rain.
I'm pretty sure it's called digital rain.
I think it has the word code in it.
I know it's called code. It's binary code, but the green text of ones
but there's
and zeros
a specific name
down.
for it, and I'm pretty sure it's not digital rain.
All right, so Monty Python and the Holy Grail. They made this movie before things were funny.
Yeah.
Evidently.
They actually created comedy.
Ooh. This wouldn't be the proof of that.
Oh, you were saying they made it before anything was funny because it wasn't funny.
I feel like that's a really rude thing to say about this movie. But here's the thing I wrote down about this movie. And we'll get into some other details. We'll get into some context during the episode about other things. But let me just start it off by saying I feel like this would have killed if I was watching it when it came out. But I feel like a lot of the world's, or at least my sense of humor has kind of been twisted and tormented and, you know, I'm not going to say taken by the devil, but let's say taken by the devil, so that I just didn't really find a lot of this funny. It's very like kind of posh, silly British humor, which is like just not, it doesn't really hit anymore for me.
Yeah. This is what I'll say about this movie. I hadn't watched it in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the first time I watched it was when I was probably like 7, and I had no idea what the fuck was going on.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I remembered was the bridge riddle scene, because I think that scene's funny.
Mm-hmm.
But that was truly the only scene I remembered, and I remembered the killer rabbit because other people remember it and talk about it.
Yeah.
And people talk about the Knights of Ni as well, which I don't think I've ever really found that funny. But here is what I will say about this movie. There was a time in high school when I was on the improv team, and as a little field trip / project, we put on a little show at an old age home.
Well, I've heard of this event.
And myself and one other person,
You're being very cryptic in this episode.
sorry, I'm just having trouble focusing because I'm sleepy. But it actually wasn't the improv team. I think it was like the drama class. Anyway, regardless, and one other person, the scene that, because we were just doing scenes
for like
from like
oldies?
things that already existed. We did like a couple improv scenes, but most of us were just like memorizing something. Anyway, we did the scene where they initially meet the French guys at the castle.
Yeah, I think that scene's funny.
And I was the French guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to memorize all that. And watching it now, I was like, wow, I did a bad job way back then because I wasn't familiar with the source material. My delivery was horrendous. But like, that's the context I'm trying to get here, is that it killed in an old age home.
Like even when you did it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I think we've talked about this sort of special thing before, this HBO thing where it was like Chris Rock, Louis C.K., Jerry Seinfeld, and Ricky Gervais. I think it was called Talking Funny.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back on it now, it's not that funny. But when I was like really into stand-up comedy when I was like 14 and I watched it, I was like, they've got the masters together. And like
same.
The way they talk about jokes in that is similar to how like the jokes in this movie are like pretty like good and like funny, and they're like good jokes. But it's just like, it's not really funny if people aren't like laughing at it. So it's just like, to me, not funny anymore.
Well, that's the thing.
Like,
I feel like the whole movie is a lot of, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, like that's a funny idea.
Yeah, and then it's like, I don't know. I watched it with Olivia this most recent time.
And she's got a very like transatlantic sort of view of the world.
All right. Alt-right.
She kind of talks
Just
like
kidding.
this when she's
She does like to talk in a British
like
accent.
this.
Yeah. But
and a lot of these guys
also do
talk like that.
But they do it naturally.
They fake it
in like a weird, unnatural way.
I'm not sure that anyone over there is actually being true to who they are in terms of how they speak.
Okay. You think
I
it's
see
all
some
fake.
people who are like, I talk like this, I'm a Cockney or whatever. And I'm like, no, you're not.
Does anyone say I'm a Cockney?
You know, I don't know because I don't really go over there. I went over there when I was young and I was kind of like, this isn't for me. And also, like, why are we lying so much about King Arthur? Because we went to, like...
I did, after we watched the movie, like, half an hour later, when Olivia and I were doing other things. She was, like, in the bathroom. I was in the kitchen making my lunch.
Yep.
And I was like, this might be a dumb question. Was King Arthur real? And she was like, I don't think so. And then we looked it up. Very much not real. Or at least there's, like, no proof of it. I kind of always just assumed King Arthur and the Knights at the Round Table were real, just because that's like a fictional story.
But like
that
everyone's
is, like,
doing it.
Everyone talks about it. Whenever people talk about like medieval times, they talk about King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. But anyway, my point was when we watched it together, there were few times that we actually laughed, but we did both like
Chuckle?
think that it was like funny. It just like didn't make us laugh. So I think it's like well written, but it's also just like a very old British way of delivering it.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. It's just like a different style of delivery. It's a different style of like, they kind of like sit on things a lot where it's like they'll keep going back to a well and they're like,
Yeah.
we're keeping the coconut thing going, or like, we're going to talk about like, how did this coconut get here for like 5 minutes right off the top? And you're like, coconut thing was funny for like, you know, it's humorous. But like, we're talking about this for a while. Let's kind of move on. And I just kind of felt by the end of the movie, I was just kind of like bored and like, it's like if, like, I don't know. There's a bunch of good ideas, but it shouldn't be like a feature length film, I guess.
It feels like a bunch of sketches like put into a time period and then put together to make a film,
which makes sense because their thing before this was Monty Python's Flying Circus, which is a sketch comedy show, and then this was their first movie that they did. So the fact, and also I'll get into this a little later, but like both directors who were part of Monty Python weren't like, they'd never directed anything before.
Yeah.
So like they're basically just stringing a bunch of sketches together, and this movie fucking murdered back then.
Oh yeah.
It made like $100 million. It adjusted, made $100 million, cost like $2 million, which you can clearly tell. It's just a bunch of dudes running around in fucking England.
They literally were just like, let's go film on the hills. Like,
oh, let's, do we have any money in the budget? No, let's just go around the corner to the castle. Yeah. Because there's just fucking castles everywhere there too, which is psychotic.
Yeah.
We've only got one here.
Which one?
Loma. Castle Loma.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Oh, there's also like all that shit in Quebec, but like I don't think that really counts.
I'm sure if you go like elsewhere.
What do you mean elsewhere?
I don't have anything to add. Let's move on. I don't know shit about castles. I'll be honest.
It's mostly in Europe, and then they came over here and like Castle Loma, and then they like built up Quebec City. We went to Quebec City. That was like a big fort. Not really a castle.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But like, that's cool. But like, they just kind of like fucking had castles because there's just a bunch of people who had castles back in the day in England.
Dude, I think because when I was a child, I watched a lot of Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah. Which
takes place on the island of Sodor, which is like a fictional British island.
Okay.
Or not British, but a fictional like European island.
Sure.
But they always had castles in like so many stories, and I think I grew up just like assuming there were castles around. Because I remembered like saying to my mom like, "Can we go to a castle?" And she was like, "Nope."
Oh, you mean like just around in the world?
Yeah, I just thought there were castles everywhere.
Yeah.
And trains everywhere with faces.
Yeah. You were sorely mistaken over here in the big Canada.
Did you see that
Canada?
After the success of Barbie, they've greenlit 14 other Mattel brand films.
Yeah.
One of them is Thomas the Tank Engine. Kind of excited.
I hope it's a dark take. I hope it's dark.
My brother was texting me about it. Apparently, I'm going to try and find what he like said the descriptor was.
I'll mention a couple other ones that they greenlit. They greenlit a dark A24 Barney with Daniel Kaluuya, which sounds like psychotic, and I'm not like it reads like that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. Did you ever hear about this movie? Yeah. It reads kind of like that, but it's like higher brow, where it's like, why the fuck are you doing a dark Barney?
Yeah.
There's the Lena Dunham Polly Pocket, which is like,
dude, literally we walked out of Barbie and I was like, guaranteed that like the studios are going to take from Barbie's success that people are really into nostalgic toys.
Yeah.
And they're going to make a bunch of fucking I literally said Polly Pocket and like Bratz and like all these. Literally 3 days later, they're like, we greenlit 14 films.
And then
It's like you have no idea why this movie was successful.
there's a chance that the Hot Wheels one is like really fucking
Dude,
cool.
yeah, man.
But also there's a chance it fucking sucks.
Dude.
Which is most likely.
I was talking to Olivia about these, and she was like, I think the Hot Wheels one might be fun. And I was like, yeah, it might be. And then she was like, I'm pretty sure it's being directed by Guillermo del Toro. And I was like, then it's fucking gonna be good.
Yeah.
And then we looked it up. Not being directed by Guillermo
There
del
we go.
Toro, which is bummer.
I feel it's giving me Need for Speed with Aaron Paul. Remember when that came out?
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, oh, they just like took a car script and got Aaron
put a
Paul to do it
character
and
in
then
it.
put Need for Speed on the title.
Mm-hmm.
But like, hopefully it's not. The lesson from Barbie should be like, let's
People want new things.
let's make something creative.
Well, because apparently they went to Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach and were like, we want you to write a script for this. And they were like, okay, but we'll only do it if we take no notes. And
Damn.
then they wrote it, and Mattel was like, we've got a couple notes. And they were like, nope. And then Mattel was like, well, all right then. And just like let them make
But
it.
you got to make a car commercial in the middle. That car
Which,
chase is like one of the worst.
Sure, but like, it's worth it for the rest of the movie.
I guess, yeah.
In
I don't
my
know.
mind, it's like, whatever. I truly barely even remember that.
Yeah, because it was so unmemorable.
Well, can I quickly just say this?
Yes, sir.
So, when talking about the greenlit Thomas the Tank Engine film, my brother said it's apparently a fantasy film directed by the guy that did World War Z.
Oh, okay.
So,
Interesting. Who did World War Z?
I don't know.
I'll look it up.
But anyway, so that's interesting to me.
What's your Wi-Fi?
Dude, I had to reset it today. It
Oh,
was all
that's why I
fucky.
couldn't connect.
Sorry, it's
Oh, no,
still
I think I'm
still
good
the
now.
same though.
Okay.
But if the Thomas the Tank Engine movie is even half as good as Thomas and the Magic Railroad starring Alec Baldwin, then I'll be happy.
Oh, this guy did Quantum of Solace.
Yeah.
A Man Called Otto, Kite Runner. They made a Kite Runner movie?
I don't know, man. I don't know what that is.
It was like a really famous book. You probably remember the cover art if you saw the book, I think.
Maybe.
I think also Stranger Than Fiction and Christopher Robin.
Oh, Christopher Robin was the one that my brother mentioned that I was like, that kind of gives me a little bit of hope. Christopher Robin wasn't like an incredible movie, but I feel like that does kind of match the vibe that I would want a quote-unquote live-action Thomas the Tank Engine movie to be.
I heard A Man Called Otto was like pretty good. It's kind of like Boomer Fuel, but like,
Yeah, I heard that as well.
I don't know, Finding Neverland? I don't know. Maybe it'll be good, but like,
I
it'll
hope it's
probably
good.
not be good.
Here's the thing. I was like feeling really optimistic about it, and then I realized they're definitely going to do a like redesign. Like they're going to redesign Thomas to look different for the movie, and it's going to look ugly, and I'm probably going to commit seppuku in the theater.
Who the fuck am I going to do this with then? I got to talk to myself, just
I
like
don't
the
know.
call
You
cast?
could find another co-host.
Fuck. Okay.
Actually, no. Actually, no. My dying wish is that you have to continue it for the rest of your life, but you have to do it alone.
Okay, I think I can do that.
All right.
You want to kill yourself now or later?
No. Only when the Thomas the Tank Engine movie comes out, and only if it's bad.
Okay, I'll probably incept the bad Thomas the Tank Engine into your dreams tonight then. Terry Gilliam,
Yeah.
one of the directors of this movie, because there was co-directors for this movie, both parts of the troupe,
We're talking about Monty Python.
the Monty
again.
Python troupe, Terry
Yeah.
Gilliam, who is one of the more interesting directors, which I don't know if you'll have seen any of his movies. I think the one you may have seen is 12 Monkeys.
I have not.
You have not. Okay.
Is that the one with
Bruce Willis is in it and Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt's who I was thinking of?
Yeah.
Brad Pitt plays like a freaky freak.
But he makes like these kind of like very fantastical movies. I think his most critically acclaimed one is Brazil. He also made one called Time Bandits and The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, which starred Adam Driver. But he's like a really interesting guy. This was his only Monty Python movie that he directed. But his kind of role in the troupe was as the animator. So all those animated sequences were like things that he did. He would animate sequences between sketches for like the show. He did a really cool sequence in Life of Brian, which is like, I don't know if it's the one right after this or the one. I think they did Life of Brian right after Holy Grail. He didn't direct that though. Which I kind of like Life of Brian. Do you know what that's about?
No, I haven't seen it.
I think it's about Jesus' brother, but his name's Brian. And he just kind of like it's like kind of historical. It's not like really historical fiction, but it's like he's kind of going through the Jesus shit, but like in the background. Mm-hmm. Weird to call it Jesus shit. I'm sorry if that's offensive, but like the Jesus story, but in the background. But there's like this kind of sick animated alien sequence in the middle, because like they treat it like the same as they treat the Holy Grail stuff, where it's like everything's kind of a joke and all the people are like kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Which I think like the comedy of Monty Python is that like everyone is pretty much stupid.
Yeah.
Which kind of reminded me of I Think You Should Leave, where it's like, I Think You Should Leave is a little more like, this guy's a fucking psycho. Mm-hmm. But like in this, it's because it's British and it's also old. It's a lot more toned down, where it's like, this guy's kind of a psycho. Yeah. And everyone's like kind of playing off that.
Yeah. Like I did not really remember King Arthur kind of being a legitimately like weird, like kind of unhinged guy. Like he gets angry a couple times.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a pretty good performance for King Arthur. Mm-hmm. I thought he was pretty good. Mm-hmm. Also on Life of Brian, just to clarify, go back to that. He was a young man who was born one stable down from Jesus. Okay. So it could have been Jesus. So he's not his brother.
So he's like the Neville Longbottom of
kind of
the Bible.
Yeah.
But
I guess
he's
that's
not
a good
real
way to describe him. Wait, Neville Longbottom's real?
No, I'm saying... Wait. No, I'm saying Brian isn't real.
What do you mean?
Brian's not real.
So Harry Potter's Jesus. Neville Longbottom is Brian. Three of those four characters are not real.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're just going to move on. The other director... I don't know what you were going on about there, man.
What I was going on about? I was saying Brian's not real.
Neither is Neville.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying Brian's not real, but like Jesus is real.
Well, I just said that Brian is the Neville Longbottom of the Bible, but then I said, but not real, because Brian isn't in the Bible because he's not real.
But Neville's in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting way to phrase that. I didn't get it. And I'm
making an executive decision. Nothing was just said for the past 2 minutes.
Okay, that's not a decision. That's a statement.
Foof. 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 Sorry. I had to say it one more time.
But Terry Gilliam just seems like kind of a cool dude. He does a lot of like philanthropy work and stuff too. I want to get into like watching all of his movies, but there's so many goddamn movies.
Yeah, man.
You ever thought about that?
Yeah, so many movies are made.
Anyway, Terry Jones, the other director, also his first credit. He's kind of like the guy that Monty Python worked with for a lot of the time. He did Life of Brian and Monty Python's Meaning of Life, which I haven't seen. And then also did a lot of like acting and TV directing, and then I think most of his recent stuff is like history kind of things, like the history of alcohol, the history of sex, with the same sort of like Monty Python, not like Monty Python, but like British like sly humor thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
You know, I don't know how I feel about Monty Python in general, because
me neither.
I just like, it's one of those things where it's like, I get it. It's kind of like Richard Pryor, where I watched a couple of Richard Pryor specials when I was younger, and I was like, I get it, but like, not my thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess it's just kind of like a matter of taste, but I think it's just like movies are getting old. Because like 20 years ago, this movie was only 30 years old. Now a 30-year-old movie is like Mission Impossible 1.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, this shit's just old. It's so dated. It's like watching.
Well, that's why I picked it. I was like,
we should do.
We should do like a weird, like, out of the box comedy.
I did think of us doing like a Screwball, like Bringing a Baby or something, which is like Cary Grant.
Yeah.
And Katharine Hepburn.
For some reason, I thought you meant Baby in the City.
Baby Geniuses.
Yeah. But like, I mostly chose it because I was like, it's well regarded. It's like old and weird. It's not like formatted like you would imagine a comedy is. Like, it's just a weird one.
Yeah.
And because I hadn't seen it in a while and I remembered liking it, so I was like, I'll choose it. I don't know if I'd say I was like disappointed because I did think it was funny, but I did kind of expect it to like get me a little more. It was a lot, especially in the middle. There was a lot of like, oh, I didn't remember this part, and then it would end, and I'd be like, that's why.
I like also don't think I like parody that much. I think it's just kind of a thing that's died off a lot. Because no one makes really like satire or I guess kind of satire, but like no one really makes parody movies anymore.
Yeah.
It was kind of a huge thing in the 80s and like late 70s, 80s with like Mel Brooks and like Spaceballs and Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. And then like Naked Gun and Airplane also are like those kind of satire parody movies. And then it kind of came back with the Scary Movie stuff and like superhero movie and Not Another Teen Movie and like stuff like that.
Vampires suck.
Yeah. And like Hungry Games or whatever.
And Hungry Hippos.
They're going to greenlight that soon.
I hope it's just literally...
I have a script for that.
I hope it's 3 hours long, and it's literally just a really long game of Hungry Hippos.
My whole script hinges on us getting real GoPros on real hippos and then throwing a bunch of beach balls in the water.
Oh, but the beach balls are like those big ones you can put people inside.
Yeah, and that's why they want to eat them.
And the people inside are like...
Domestic terrorists?
No, I was going to say that they're all SAG-AFTRA protesters or strikers.
What the hell? Adam is anti-strike.
That's not true at all. The reason I went that way is because I was like, that's what a studio executive would say.
They're not creative enough to come up with that.
That's true, actually. They'd probably be like, what if we put the Kardashians in there?
But like... There's this kind of like
or
parody thing
boys
circling around now. What's it called? The World of Bass or whatever. That song by that guy who just like acts like a baby. And it's like, all of no dreams. Or it's like that Europop song.
No idea.
Have you not seen this?
Not
I feel like Olivia loves this.
Maybe.
It's that guy who's like, I'm going to play the baseball game.
No clue. Not even a clue.
I'll try and find it and like show you some visuals.
Maybe after. Or do you want it now?
It might just like stir your
excuse me.
I think this is what it's called, World of Bass. I don't know what it's called. But like I'm just not into parody because I think it's just like kind of lame.
Do you here's a recent parody that I know of. You know Dixon Dallas? He's bouncing on my booty cheeks. I love the way he rides.
Yes.
That's parody, right?
I've heard that. Yeah.
So that here's my little claim to fame. Played Overwatch with that guy.
Okay.
So.
And how was he?
He was fine. He the bigger claim to fame, I guess, was that
oh, sorry.
Nope. Is that in a live stream.
Have you not seen this?
No, I have not even a little bit.
Oh.
Not even a little bit. Dixon Dallas don't want to break the image. but
Okay.
that's not his real name.
Okay.
Anyway, but like the
Is this
actual guy,
that-
it's DJ Booty Butt, Jake Hill.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah, man.
Oh, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So like he did a live stream like when he rebranded from DJ Booty Butt to Jake Hill, which is his name. And when he did that live stream, I was like in the chat and was like, I think I was just like, cool to see that you're like making more like serious stuff or something. And he like called out my username and was like, I'm a dumb. I remember seeing you in the comments like back when I was doing my early stuff. And that made me feel so good. And now he's got a trending TikTok song about
Gay cowboy sex?
gay cowboy sex.
All right. But, like, it doesn't make me, not to dismiss you,
No, you're good.
but I just, like, don't laugh at parody, I guess.
Yeah.
And this movie's, like, very heavy on, like, parody satire. And I think, like, the thing with it is, like, a lot of parody is funny and well executed and good.
Yeah.
But it's just not funny to me. Like that World of Planet of Bass thing that I showed you, like, it's funny and good and like, oh, cool song and like whatever, and it like does the thing right.
Yeah.
But also like, I don't fucking care. Like I'm not laughing. It doesn't crack me up, and I'm sure
Yeah.
it works for some people. But like, I think Airplane is very smart and like funny in that way. But like, I'm not like giggling, laughing, crying like I am to some stupid shit like I Think You Should Leave. And I think it's just that both of our senses of humor are kind of like deep fried.
Yeah, a little bit. I think that's everybody who's Gen Z or Gen Alpha or whatever. But
We cannot call them Gen Alpha. They'll get too much power.
what do you mean?
Do not be a beta.
Oh yeah,
what was that
sorry.
guy? Yeah.
Dude, have you seen this will derail us if we go down
Oh,
this.
Jesus Christ.
Have you seen
Only
anything
33
about
minutes in.
Skibbity Toilet?
No.
It's being labeled as the first Gen Alpha meme to go viral, and it's like a Gary's Mod animation series about a group of toilets with heads that go to war with a bunch of humanoid cameras, and they have this song they sing. Anyway,
Sounds like fucking hell.
it's wacky, man. Anyway.
All right.
All right.
So let's go through some parts of this movie, huh?
Yeah,
Let's just
let
go
me-
through it in sequence.
Let me bring my notes up.
So first we've got the opening, where he rides up on his little thing.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he doesn't ride up on anything.
I do think that it's real. They framed the shot. They're not like alluding to anything really, but just the way they framed the shot on the hill makes it seem like someone's gonna come over the hill like on a giant horse.
Yeah.
And then you just see his tiny little head pop out.
Well, actually, we should start with the opening credits.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. I literally just wrote subtitles during opening credits ?
I was like checking the settings. I was like, I didn't turn on like Swedish subtitles or whatever the fuck.
Well, because there's a bunch of like words up, but then there's subtitles to the. Oh, because it's the opening credits.
Yeah.
So there's like a bunch of credits up, but then there's subtitles to the credits. I was like, why are there subtitles here? Is this like some foreign? Like, do I have the wrong
Yeah, did I
language
get like a
subtitles
foreign rip
on?
or something?
Yeah, but then like I realized that the subtitles are like making jokes and referencing the subtitle or the credits, and then it like stops and switches up like 4 times. At one point it turns into like mariachi and is like flashing bright yellow and red on the screen, nearly seized out. Like it was just wacky, and it seemed like it had nothing to do with the rest of the film.
Well, it's just like, here's the thing I was thinking when that was going. That would have fucking killed if I just went into this movie and I like was in a theater. There's like 100 people around me.
Yeah.
And then that shit just starts happening. Everyone's like looking at each other like, what the fuck's going on? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like someone could do that today if they even had. They don't have opening credits before movies anymore, which is kind of psychotic. But like,
Yeah.
if there was a comedy that came out today and had that joke in it, I feel like it would be pretty good if people went out to see the comedy in theaters.
Yeah.
But they don't.
But they
Unless it's Barbie.
What do you mean?
Barbie's a comedy.
Oh, I thought you meant like Barbie had opening credits.
No, I
And
don't
I was
think
like,
it
I don't
did.
think they did.
No,
Maybe like director and main stars.
they just.
but
I
don't
think they might
remember.
have just had like tight slates, maybe. But like, a lot movies just like start now,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird.
Usually movies have like a little intro bit, then a title screen, and then they go.
Yeah, Hillary and I have been watching through the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
We just kind of like fell into doing it. It's been like kind of fun to go through them and like see how the style changes through them. But like, I think kind of after the Avengers, most of them have cold opens, which I think is just a very strange thing to do. Where it's just like, you got this thing, fade, Marvel logo, and then the movie.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. I don't love it, but like,
I think it works if you do it right, but I feel like they kind of fell into a formula and it just doesn't work half the time. Like it works in
we'll talk about
Guardians
this
of the
another time.
Galaxy, I feel, because the title screen. Oh wait, is there? Oh no, because even that doesn't it do like? What's the opening of Guardians of the Galaxy? Do
Which
they do
one?
Peter Quill, the first one?
Yeah, they have the cold open of him like as a kid, where his mom dies,
Right.
and then it goes to the Marvel.
See, in my
logo.
mind, you should just start with him on the planet and doing the dance with the title screen.
The thing is, like, every time we start a movie, I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And then I remember that all of these movies have cold opens to like set up something that you could set up when you're
Later.
supposed to.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's like when it's just like coming up next week on the show kind of thing.
Yeah.
At the end of like TV shows where it's like, come back next week to see if Walter White sucks his own dick.
Which does happen in the show. So if you want to see that, watch
I
the
watched
whole show.
through it all at work, 4 times speed, actually.
Have you seen Breaking Bad?
I watched the first season, and then I was kind of like, Walter White, not a great guy.
Yeah.
I only watched.
Interesting
TV
that you
shows-
thought that about him after one season.
Well, I was kind of like, he wants to teach high schoolers.
Oh, that's what makes him a
okay.
bad guy. I see.
Yeah, because it's like, get your money up, brother.
Fair.
Get that Sigma grind set.
I could talk about Breaking Bad for too long, so let's move on.
Okay.
The opening credits were funny and weird. I felt like I can't read fast enough to have actually appreciated them.
It was like, but it's the same thing where it's like, oh, this is a really funny idea, but it's like not super funny because it's like, it keeps hitting on this like moose joke,
Yeah.
and you're like, that's not really hitting for me, brother.
It probably killed like
In
60
1976
years ago in Britain.
Yeah.
Like that probably had people busting a gut.
I was like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, people were rolling in the aisles when this shit came out.
But
And
in
now-
the year 2023, as a 24-year-old Canadian boy,
Capitalist.
nope. It's just all right. So then they say England 932 AD.
You got the script up there?
The first shot is of the hill, which I do think is a great
That's a
shot.
really good shot. That's a good opening bit.
Yeah. And then they have the interaction about the coconuts with the French guys, right? That's when they first meet the French guys.
I don't think they're French.
Oh no,
They're not French.
they meet.
They meet the
French
French
guys
guys
later.
on. Yeah.
But anyway, they have like that.
That opening bit with the
Interaction.
coconut where he's like, where'd you get the coconut from?
Oh, and then they talk about like sparrows.
yeah. Which
Or
comes
swallows.
back.
Sorry.
Sure.
Because they talk about
Kinda like
European
Detective
versus
Pikachu.
African swallows, which then comes back in the bridge scene
Yeah.
when he's like, "Do you mean an African or a European swallow?" The guy says, "I don't know that." He gets cast into the thing, and might I say, I believe which one is it? I believe it's Sir Galahad is the clean-shaven young boy-looking one.
With the long hair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets the worst deal at the bridge
Why?
because he gets the easy question of what's your favorite color. He just doesn't know his favorite color, so he dies, which I sympathize with because, like, so, I don't know. Someone asks me my favorite color. Sometimes I don't know.
But also, I think throughout the movie, he's kind of like He runs away. He's the runner. He's the coward.
Well,
So
no,
he deserves it.
that's Sir Robin, isn't it?
Oh, I think it is Sir Robin.
Because Sir Robin gets asked because he's like, that's easy. So then he runs to it, and then he gets asked the like capital of something, the capital of Assyria, and he's like, I don't know that. Then he dies. So like that makes sense because he was like, oh, I'll do it when it's easy.
The capital of Assyria? Assyria.
Is it?
I don't know.
Cool.
Couldn't tell you, actually.
But I feel bad for Sir Galahad because he kind of like first he gets cucked at he gets cock blocked at this like big like
Oh, what is that called? Castle of Anthrax.
yeah,
Where he could get some, but he's just kind of like too scared.
Like when they leave, there's like a very brief like. Not like character breaking as in the actor broke character. I mean like character
fourth
broke
wall
character.
break.
Where she's like, oh, shit. When they leave, like she's like, ah, shit, he left. And at first I was like, oh, because they were like trying to keep him there to like, I don't know, steal his money or like do something to him. But then I was like, was she just saying shit because like genuinely they all wanted to like.
They don't see a lot of men.
Yeah. So I think genuinely he was like about to have like a 45-person gangbang. and then Sir Lancelot just comes along and is like, we're saving you.
Well, there's also a part where she's like, she looks right at the camera. She's like, should we have cut this scene? And in my head, I was like, yeah, this shit's kind of slow.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I was like, that would be funny if the scene was like really bad.
Yeah.
Or if it was like really good.
Yeah.
But it was just, the scene was just fine. So it was like, should we have cut this? And I'm like, yeah, I
probably.
guess.
It's like an hour and a half long. Let's cut it down.
Honestly, I think I'd never seen that scene because I think when I watched it with my older cousin.
And he like skipped over
he
it.
fast forwarded that part because he's like, Adam's too young for this part.
Anyway, Coconut, Black Knight. I think he's called the Black Knight.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of funny where he's like trying to get him even though he's got no arms and legs.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should go through every part of this because I think it's just going to keep being us saying like, oh, that's kind of funny.
Can I, because I only really wrote down what I thought was funny.
Okay, so we're 43 minutes in.
Yeah.
Give me your best bit you like the most.
Can I just do like a quick rundown? Like,
well, that's not really the rules I'm setting up, but you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want.
That's why I'm asking for an alteration of the rules. So I thought the guys walking through the like shit kingdom being like, bring out your dead.
That's good.
I really liked that. And then the guy being like, I've got a dead guy here. And he's like, I'm not dead. And then they just argue about whether like he can come back later when he's actually dead,
like,
whether he can just take him anyway.
Yeah.
Then he's like, oh, I know what to do, and just kills the guy.
Well, he like gives him some money, and he was like, I'll give you $8.
Yeah. And then he just like chops his head with an axe or some shit.
Just hits it with like a stick.
Yeah. And then later, because then
He decapitates
Sir
the man.
or King Arthur and his guy walk past them after that interaction, and one of them goes, who's that guy? And then the other guy's like, must be a king. He hasn't got shit all over him, because everyone is covered in poop.
Even the guys like outside, who's like those guys outside, to sort of cut you off on your mission here.
No worries.
Sorry, but like those guys outside when they're talking about like the whole hierarchy of the economy and
Yeah.
stuff, where I was like, give me a minute 30 of this and we're good. But you're at like 3 or 4 minutes.
I did really like the bit, but it went on.
Yeah. Bits like that where it's like someone's like preaching about like some systematic problem can be good. But there's also a point where you're kind of like, okay, I need something funny because he's just talking about the same shit now.
Yeah. And the funny payoff was King Arthur walking over to him and being like, shut it. And it's like, sorry, I need more than that. I need a better button. I did write Dennis is a communist G.
Yeah.
About
Dennis.
that. Oh, yeah. And then we meet, shit, what was that? The knight that talks like this with the really long mustache.
Oh.
I forget that one.
Fuck. Let me keep looking.
He's the first one they meet.
I don't know.
Anyway, that guy. So there's a bunch of dudes arguing with him over whether they should be able to burn this woman for being a witch. And he's like, well, what makes you think she's a witch? And they're like, she looks like one. And he's like, did you put those clothes on her to make her look like one and put this nose on her to make her look like one?
Sir Belvedere, I think.
Right. Yeah, Sir Belvedere. And they're like, yeah, we dressed her up. Yeah. I like how honest they are.
Yeah,
they're like, let's burn her.
Yeah, we dressed her up. And
yeah. But then eventually he like tries to get them to notice the logic of like her not being a witch. And he's like, witches burn, wood also burns, wood floats, ducks also float. If she weighs the same as a duck, she's a witch. And I'm like, oh, so this is all to prove that she's not a witch? And then they weigh her and she weighs the same as a witch. And she's like, well, it's a good system. And then they just go burn her. I was like, that was good.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good.
Like, I feel like a lot of the jokes that land are because they kind of come out of left field. Like, I was not expecting them to actually her to actually weigh the same as a duck and actually be a witch and that logic actually work. So that was funny. Then they meet God through the clouds. He's
pretty cool
kind of
animated
like
sequence.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of like a dick.
Mm-hmm.
And is very upset. There's the night one of my notes is literally just Knights of Knee, so I remember it happened. Don't think that's a great bit.
I think it's like kind of bad, actually.
Yeah, and I think that like that whole sequence, because they meet the Knights of Knee, and they basically say you can't come through here or we'll kill you unless
you get a shrubbery.
They bring him a shrubbery, and then they're like, you have to do it again.
Yeah.
And it's like
he
that
keeps saying it or something, and then they don't like it.
Yeah. That whole sequence I think is very meh.
Yeah. Is that also the three-headed knight? Because I thought the three-headed knight was good.
I think that was earlier.
Okay.
Which I also thought
because I think they kind of intercut them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the three-headed knight was pretty funny as well. Another bit that I enjoyed was oh yeah, the like calligrapher for like the different like pages in the book like hears a banging, so he runs down this massive staircase, goes outside, and the sun and clouds are jumping, and he's like, stop.
And he's like, stupid weather.
Yeah, and then they stop, and then the movie just keeps going, and I'm like, what was that?
Another bit kind of like that is the one with the famous historian.
Yeah.
Where it like cuts to this newsreel footage, and then he gets his throat slit open.
Yeah.
And then there's like some cuts back to like police investigating and like his wife crying.
Yeah.
Or, like whatever.
Which that cuts throughout the movie, and I was just like, the first time I was like, that's kind of a funny bit. He got sliced by a knight. And then it came back, and I was like, oh, I guess it's funny that they're like checking in on this, and they kept checking in on it, and I was like, okay, this is like a fun reoccurring bit. And then it turned out to be an important plot point, because the movie ends with them all being arrested by modern day police.
Well, the original script, their first draft was half of it was King Arthur shit, and then half was modern day. So I think that's one of the modern day things that they carried over.
Like, it would be funny if at the end we realize these are all just a bunch of wackos dressed as knights.
Yeah.
Like,
which I guess is what we're supposed to realize at the end.
Yeah, which once I like thought about that, I was like, that's a funny thing. But like, it wasn't like I was like, oh my goodness, they're being arrested.
But
dude.
You would have been in 1978.
Yeah. One bit I did like is when I think it was just like because they kind of follow individual knights for a little bit, and for Sir Lancelot's his like his like horse coconut guy gets shot with an arrow that the son of a king of a nearby kingdom shot out to like send a message that he's in danger. Anyway, during that, And then, and then he just fucking comes in and murders everybody.
Which I think is good.
I thought that was funny. I honestly think the Sir Lancelot storyline had the best gags.
I think that's my favorite one of the... I think that was probably my favorite bit of the whole thing, where he just like runs through and he's killing, and then he's like finished, but then he gets like kind of triggered to do it again, and then he starts killing, and he's like, sorry,
I get carried away.
You know.
And there's people being like, he killed my uncle. He killed my son. And he's like, sorry, like, oopsie daisies. But like another bit that I really like in that is before he even shoots the arrow out of the window, the king is talking to the guards about keeping the son in the room, and they just do not get it. Like for a while.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just thought that whole bit was funny. Because then even when Sir Lancelot comes in, one of the guards is like, so I think we're not supposed to let anyone out of the room. And then Sir Lancelot just kills them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that whole bit was funny.
A bit that they seem to reoccur a lot is like someone's dying. So like his horse boy gets shot with an arrow, or like the prince jumps off and has his legs broken, or like there's the guy with the cart.
Yeah.
And then they're just kind of like, you're fucking dead.
Yeah, they're just like, this person's dying.
Like, I don't
dead.
really want to deal with you anymore, and like I know you're getting better, but like I'm just going to kill you anyway.
Yeah.
So,
which I don't think Lancelot kills his horse boy, he just leaves him.
Yeah, he's just like, it's okay.
Yeah. Which is good. Any other good bits? Tim is something I wrote down.
Tim, I don't know what Tim is.
What the fuck is Tim? That was definitely a bit in the... Oh, Tim was the, like, dark wizard who, like, introduces them to the rabbit.
Oh, yeah.
Which was, I don't know, it was fun. I don't know.
I was impressed by, like, the effects.
Yeah.
Of, like, some dude, which is, like... The thing that helps this movie so much is that, like, all this shit is just kind of, like, there on that one island. So, like, they gotta move around, but, like, there's incredible landscapes there.
Yeah.
That they can just kind of, like, I guess, use.
Well, that's something Olivia said while we were watching, where she was like, the fun thing about this being, like, a movie shot on film and on location is that even though this is, like, a really cheaply made movie for the most part, and it's, like, not a serious movie, they kind of, like, accidentally get beautiful looking shots every once in a while,
which is like something that we're missing now. All movies look like shit. You look at this movie. Remember when we watched Space Jam like 4 months ago, and we're like, oh, this is like actually really cool looking.
Like
there's
the
some
first
really
Space
cool
Jam.
There's like some really cool shit in this, and like some interesting shots, and like they put some work into making it look like something. Whereas like movies just don't look like that, and you get it with the Marvel ones, where like the first couple, there's like some interesting stuff in the first couple, and then they're just kind of like done with that after Avengers.
You know what truly it is? It's like we used to get movies that were like a handmade, hand-built, hand-carved, handcrafted, hand-polished, like wood table.
It was a hand job.
Sure. Like a nice wood dining table. That's the kind of movies we used to get. And now we get IKEA tables. Like, they still serve their purpose and sometimes look good and sometimes are good. But
they're like pretty basic, and they just get the job done.
Well, it's just like I'm looking at something that was like synthetically made in like a factory.
Like Oppenheimer and Barbie have very specific visions for each of them, though they're very different. The people who made them were able to execute their vision. Which is like the thing why Christopher Nolan is still like probably the greatest. He's probably the greatest filmmaker working right now. Maybe aside from
I've seen someone say he's the closest thing to like a modern day Spielberg, which I don't think they make quite the same like vibe of film, but I'd say as far as like scale and like,
I think he's a little closer to like Kubrick, because all of his movies are his vision for what the movie's going to be, where Spielberg's is like, Spielberg doesn't really write his movies, whereas Nolan like even if it's Batman, like he's got a thing for Batman. Spielberg's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do War of the Worlds. Here's a War of the Worlds script. I'm gonna make it a Spielberg movie, but like,
Yeah.
and he has his own artistic thing. But like, there's like 3 or 4, maybe 5 people offhand that I think are doing things that are their own and are very interesting, which is like Tarantino, Greta Gerwig, Chris Nolan, Paul Thomas Anderson, and Jordan Peele.
I was about to say,
And maybe maybe Damien Chazelle.
there's probably a few more. It's just like,
But like big, like high level stuff
yeah,
that will make money and be blockbusters.
but is also like different, original, and interesting.
Yeah, like Little Women made $200 million at the box office.
Yeah.
That is psychotic.
You know what that like just makes me think about? Just to go back to Barbie, also
Yeah.
Greta Gerwig. Before Barbie came out, there were so many people being like, dude, Barbie's not gonna make much money, especially compared to Oppenheimer. Like, who's the audience for Barbie? No one's gonna see this.
Literally half the
Well,
population.
that's the thing. You're literally just forgetting the demographic of all women.
Not that every woman loves Barbie, but like, you throw a demographic a bone.
Well, that's
Like
the thing.
this is the same thing with Jordan Peele movies, where it's like, oh, you can make movies about black people. I didn't think we could do that. I thought it had to be a guy named Chris. I thought he had to be a superhero.
I thought it had to be a guy named Chris.
I'm gonna get into a little bit of Marvel history
That's
that I
okay.
recently learned, but like, they wanted to make Black Panther as one of the first Marvel movies. Like that was in the pipe for like since Iron
For phase
Man.
1.
But like, what's his name? Ike something. I forget his last name because I'm horrible with names. This guy named Ike was like, no, it has to be a white protagonist who is like blonde, good looking, muscular, and that's the movies they made were about white guys doing their thing.
Thor,
And then we
Captain
get-
America, Iron Man, Hulk. And that was it for the first bit.
Yeah. But then also like all the other protagonists are white people. You've got Scarlett Johansson, who's in like a minor role in a couple movies.
Yeah.
There's Hawkeye. And then after that, there's like
Quicksilver.
before Black
Scarlet
Panther, there's
Witch.
Doctor Strange. There's Guardians of the Galaxy. There's Ant-Man. There's all these movies where it's just a fucking white dude who's
Yeah.
kind of boring, doesn't really have a character arc. I guess Guardians of the Galaxy is the exception.
Dude,
but
I
like,
hope Ike saw the fucking box office for Black Panther and creamed his jeans.
well, he did because he's a toy guy, and his whole thing is about making toys. So like,
And apparently, black kids don't buy toys.
I don't
That's
know what
so
that mean.
Dude,
But like, that's literally the thinking.
I want to rip the eyes out of every Hollywood executive that exists. Because I feel like they've just got no fucking clue what people actually want, man.
What people want is something creative and something that shows them like the world in a real way, or like an interesting take on the world, whether
Yeah.
that's like whatever race, whatever gender, whatever. If it's got a creative vision, it's probably going to do well.
Well, it's like what we were saying about like Barbie succeeding or exceeding expectations.
And Oppenheimer exceeding too, though. Like,
Yeah. But like Barbie exceeding expectations and them going, you know what we got to do, guys? We got to do a Polly Pocket movie next. And it's like, first of all, you're taking the wrong thing from this. Barbie didn't succeed because people are nostalgic for toys. I'm sorry. The same thing happened when the Lego movie succeeded.
Where they're like, oh,
there was like a
Playmobil.
fucking
We gotta do Playmobil.
There literally was a Playmobil movie and it bombed because no one cares.
Yeah.
People didn't like the Lego movie because they were like, yay, Lego. Maybe that's why like most people initially saw it. But like people liked it because it was like
A good
well
movie.
animated. It was like new and fresh. There were like good performances and it had kind of a Barbie-esque like real world twist to it that like kind of grounded it a bit. It's like you're pulling all the wrong things from this, guys. You truly have no idea what people want and what people like. Why do you have your job? That is your job.
And Barbie is good because Greta Gerwig is like a master at what she does.
Oh, yeah.
Just like Barry Jenkins, just like Damien Chazelle, just like Jordan Peele. Like, these people are just fucking good at their jobs and very creative and very interesting and have an interesting way of communicating the world to people.
Yeah.
And that's why they're, I guess, hold for Damien Chazelle, but like, that's why their movies do well. And that's why they're so lauded. And that's why their shows are so critically acclaimed, like with Underground Railroad and stuff. Like, I don't know. The movie's not the title. And I feel like movies are the title now instead of the concept. Because if you told me there was going to be a fucking Oppenheimer movie or a Barbie movie and I was going to see them both in one weekend, like 2 years ago, in one day, I was going to be like, no, I'm
not a chance.
Not. But like,
well, that's the thing. The Barbie movie was announced and it was like Margot Robbie's Barbie. I'm like, cool. Did not think about it at all. And then I started to see more and more about it. And I was like, oh, this like seems like it might actually be a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
This has nothing to do with Monty Python and the Holy Grail, except for the fact that like this is kind of actually it does have something to do with Monty Python and the Holy Grail because they're executing their vision with like pretty much free will. Mm-hmm. And it was very successful because they're very creative people. Yeah. And it still, in a sense, holds up because I think both of us agree that the jokes generally work. Yeah. We just don't have that sense of humor, but like I think we can both kind of tell when something is funny. Yeah. Whether we laugh at it or not. But
well, that's the thing. There have been movies that I've watched that I have like laughed at more than I laughed at this that I know are less funny than this. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you're able to kind of separate yourself from it and be like, this is funny. Mm-hmm. Also, just a quick side note and then we'll move on. In one of the previous episodes this month, I think it doesn't matter which one it was. In one of the more recent episodes, we mentioned the possibility of doing a Greta Gerwig month, and I genuinely think that would be good.
She's got 4.
I think down the line.
Oh, we could do like Frances Ha.
Frances Ha, Little Women, Barbie, and Lady Bird.
Yeah.
Boom.
That'd be good.
Maybe next year we'll do that.
I think we should do a couple director miniseries.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I'd like to do one for like Damien Chazelle or Jordan Peele.
I'd like to do one for Paul Greengrass.
We could try, man, but like...
Let's do the whole Bourne series in a month.
How many is there? Like 5?
I think there's Bourne...
But Identity. No, we have a different idea for franchise.
Bourne, Identity, Supremacy, Ultimatum, and then there's Jason Bourne, and then there's...
Oh, the 311 or whatever?
And then there's Bourne Something Else, which is the Jeremy Renner one.
Bourne Legacy.
Bourne Legacy. Which came out before Jason Bourne.
I recently watched Mission Impossible 4, which was another movie, just like Bourne Legacy, where Jeremy Renner is like set up to be the next guy, but then he's not. Yeah. Which I think is very interesting. And then he broke both of his legs.
Well, you said then he did as if that was like the next thing he did. He tried to be like Jason Bourne, he tried to be Tom Cruise, and then he broke both of his legs.
Give or take 10 years.
Yeah. Anyway, we're not doing a Bourne series. My parents love the Bourne movies. I do genuinely think that they're like fun.
Yeah, they're good.
They're good?
I think they're generally good. Yeah. I think the action's a little dated.
Well, that's the thing. It's very Taken-esque, where it's like a lot of cuts, a lot of shaky cam.
Bourne-esque, I think.
I guess so.
Anyway,
let's move on.
We should get into the questions. I've got a couple questions for you.
Let me just really quick check my notes for one last thing. Oh, yeah, the animator died, so they escaped the cave. Yeah. Which I thought was funny. And then it's just my overall thoughts, which I'll save for after.
So, judging from this conversation, I don't think you have much of a relationship to Monty Python.
No.
I don't really either. I think there are some people sort of in our age group that did, because living in Canada, there are some like strings to the motherland, I'll say. That God-forsaken king we have now. Don't put him on my money, sir.
I do think like the most tied to it I was when I was introduced to it by my cousin, because he was like, this is really funny because I think he just discovered British humor, which I feel like everybody who like cares about humor and discovers British humor is like, this is way better than anything I've seen for a bit.
Yeah.
And then you kind of like balance out a bit. And
Everyone
then later
goes through like a British comedy phase, or like a British, even like a British sci-fi phase where it's like, oh, I watched like 5 seasons of Doctor Who at one point in my life.
my brother's been in a British comedy phase for about 5 years or more. Also,
But it's
not
like
just
all
comedy,
underground.
dude. He
Like Daniel Sloss.
when
I guess
he
he's
was
not
visiting
underground.
Ontario, he like drove me somewhere, and I realized like 25 minutes into the ride that all of the music had been British rap, and I was like, you got a lot of British rap, and he's like, well, yeah, it's my British rap playlist. So
What do
and
they
then
call
he
it, grime?
what
They call it grime over there.
I don't know. But then he
Something
also
like that.
watches a lot of these like I forget what they're called, but like the British like panel shows.
Like Q or whatever.
I think so. And
Yeah.
like what's it called? Not the challenge, that's not it. Anyway, it doesn't
The
matter.
Weakest Link.
It doesn't matter. Oh, you know exactly what when
The
they get a
Graham Norton
panel
show.
of
The Graham Norton show. The
when
Graham
they
Norton
get a
show.
panel, nope.
The Graham Norton show.
Well, good
He's
show.
a hilarious Brit. He is riding the edge of political correctness. That man is.
I don't know about that, but I do think Graham Norton is genuinely one of, if not the best, late night interviewer
I wish
or talk show interviewer.
One thing I wish I was more into when I was younger, but I think we were just like 4 years too late to do this, was like, I wish I got a lot more into late night TV.
Same.
Because I had a TV in my bedroom, but like, I don't know. I wish I watched Conan.
We
and,
were like in the era that we would have been into late night, like right before or around when Jimmy Fallon took over the Tonight Show.
yeah.
And it just like, I feel like that wasn't a great era to like be that age in. I do think some people our age, a little bit above, a little bit below, like got into late night through Jimmy Fallon taking over because it was like big news.
Yeah.
But I was always more into Conan.
Yeah. And I
But,
think
like-
the Conan clips live on pretty well.
Yeah.
Like all of that, like Conan travel or whatever. I forget what they're called.
Here's the
but,
thing.
like,
Conan did a bit with Ice Cube and Kevin Hart where they took
it's
they-
the funniest thing that was ever on. Late
Yeah,
Night.
literally all they did was take an Uber to the convenience store or something and went
Yeah.
through a Burger King like drive-through. That was the bit.
Yeah.
I still watch that like once or twice a year and it holds up. Not a chance I'm watching like Ariana Grande and like Kate Upton play Pictionary VR on the Tonight Show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
It's kind of surprising that James Corden was the newest host
Mm,
that like had a long term, because there was like Lily Singh and all that shit.
sure.
But like he was the newest one, came in like after Fallon,
Yeah.
but then was the first one to leave out of like he left before Fallon ended.
He left after Conan, though. Conan left.
I guess people kind of talk about Conan in a different way though, because like TBS isn't like it's not the same sort of like network kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because they like, I don't know. I listened to a lot of podcasts around when Corden was leaving about like the economics of late night and all that shit. I don't know why. I filled my brain with so much garbage.
Dude, I feel the same way all the time, man.
Anyway, Craig Ferguson, I think, is a good one to
Dude,
look up also.
That I was literally just trying to remember what point I was going to say, and it was going to be that I wish Craig Ferguson was still around. But
Yeah.
Craig Ferguson, Conan, and Jon Stewart are the three that are no longer in the late night scene who I miss dearly.
Yeah. And all their stuff, well, I guess Craig Ferguson's not really doing anything that I know of.
No.
But like Conan's podcast has kind of fallen off. I listened to it for a while, and then it became very like, so Jake Gyllenhaal, you got a new movie coming out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
And Jon Stewart's like Apple TV show is like,
I see clips from it once in a while. It looks pretty good, but like,
it's like an admirable thing he's doing,
mhm.
because he's like really focusing on the issues, but also like, I don't know. I'm just so like
I feel like Jon.
burnt out on all the like, there's horrible shit going on.
Here's the thing. I'm in that.
I know.
I feel like Jon Stewart retired from being late night comedy show host
Made a bad movie.
to be a a professional good person.
Yeah.
Like he's just going around being a good guy.
I think I would agree on that.
Anyway,
I think we're both losing steam.
Yep.
This also reminded me a lot of Mad Magazine.
yeah,
You ever read Mad Magazine?
a little bit. Like when I was like a child.
I got it. My dad got me a couple because it was one of those times where it was like very few times where I don't think with anything other than comedy he's done this, like Adam Sandler movies and like Step Brothers and shit like that, where he was like, here's a comedic thing that I liked when I was a kid, or I like, let's see if you like it. And I was kind of like not into it, where it's like I could tell it's like, it's kind of like The Onion, where it's like, oh, that's like clever. But
I
I'm
was
not
always too
laughing.
freaked out by the covers.
Yeah, that kid's a freak. That kid's
Yeah.
a fucking psycho.
Yeah.
You ever seen Robin Hood Man in Tights?
Nope.
It's pretty good, and I think it would be a good double feature with this movie. It's got a lot of the same kind of like vibe. I think it's a Mel Brooks movie with Carrie Elways.
Okay.
Elways?
I don't
think it's
know.
Elways. He's the guy in Princess Diaries.
Okay.
Not Buttercup. That's the girl, right?
I
He's
have
the
no
guy.
idea.
You've not Princess Diaries, sorry. Princess Bride.
Okay.
Anyway, I guess you don't like that. Spoof movies. Thoughts on spoof movies other than what we've said earlier?
I don't know. I feel like they can be funny, but I feel like it's very easy to make a spoof movie, but it is very hard to make a good one.
Yeah, and I think that's the trouble that they kind of ran into, where it's like all of the spoof things that you would like spoof now are either like,
Well, it's like Space Force, the Apple TV Space Force show with Steve Carell, where it was like making fun of Donald Trump's space program. And it was like, you could classify that as like a spoof show, but apparently it sucked ass.
Yeah, I watched the first couple episodes. I was like, this is just not something I'd like to watch.
I just remember it coming out and people being like, yeah, it's not great. And me being like, yeah, maybe it would have been a hit if it came out 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, not 3 years ago now, 3 years ago from when it came out. But
I feel like any internet like influencer spoof thing doesn't really work. I guess like
Pop Star Never Stop Never Stopping, I guess, is a spoof.
yeah, but like when was that? Mid 2010s?
I guess, yeah, like 2015.
And it didn't do
maybe.
well.
Yeah.
People
People liked it. It just didn't do well.
the one that immediately comes to mind is Theater Camp, which we've talked about. We talked about a little bit last week, which is like kind of a spoof on like theater kids.
Yeah.
And I've heard like some increasingly good things about it, and I'm also
Nice.
getting much more excited about Bottoms.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's been like 4 weeks since we recorded, so
Yep.
the hype's building, and I think it comes out this month.
Hell yeah.
But like I don't know, spoof movies are just like, if someone does a spoof of TikTok, like there's already like 18 spoofs of the TikTok on TikTok.
Yeah.
So like,
Well, that's
what
the
are you
thing.
doing?
There's so much content being constantly churned out these days. It's like, it's hard to, even with Barbie felt like such a like new thing. And like, but there were still people being like, these are old talking points. Like, they weren't saying anything new. Like, we've heard all of this before.
Which is pretty sick that every time someone speaks about feminism, they have to have a completely new and inventive point that no one's ever said before, or else it's like not valuable at all.
That's the thing. I was talking to Olivia about it, and she's like, much like how like the people who are like being like Barbie sucks because it's a man-hating, man-bashing, horrible movie, like much like how they are like in an echo chamber of their worldview, the people being like, Barbie isn't good or like a good feminist movie because it's not making any new talking points, those people are also in an echo chamber. Believe it or not, people outside of your circle haven't considered these talking points. Like, I could name like 15 people that I know personally who haven't seen Barbie that if they did, it would blow their minds. Like,
Yeah.
you just gotta. Anyway, but like, what I was saying was like, even with Barbie, which felt very new and very fresh, there were still people who were like, this is nothing new. And that's just because there's so much
Yeah.
out there now that, like, especially with a format like parody or like spoof, like, there's just a lot less room for it. It's kind of like why Weird Al has been like, I'm not coming out with a new album ever.
Yeah,
because like
what is he
there's
gonna parody?
Like, there were already parodies out when he did his last album, Mandatory Fun, I believe it was. But and like when it came out, it was like, okay, this is like obviously a step above like the Minecraft parodies online and shit.
Yeah.
But like, it's at the point now where it's like there's so much content, it would still be good, but like people would talk about it for like a couple days and then it would be like out because the attention span.
Or he would be making parodies of songs that are already out of the lexicon.
Yeah.
Where it's like Party in the USA was like around for a long time.
Yeah.
Because people were still kind of listening to the radio, so it was getting fed to them.
Yeah.
Whereas like, how often do you listen to a song for more than like 4 months?
Yeah.
Like truly.
Yeah.
At this point, I kind of just like listen to the top 6 or 7 of my liked songs, and then I'll maybe go into like a song radio for one if I like it.
Yeah.
But like,
well, that's the thing too. Like, I mean, the way it kind of worked before was he'd kind of like collect a bunch of songs that were popular over the past couple years and then release them, and it would still feel fresh because it's like, oh, I remember this song.
and they'll like still play Bad on the radio like 4 or 5 years later too.
Yeah, but like now it's like, what is Weird Al gonna do a parody of like Lizzo?
Yeah.
And like, maybe a bad example, but like,
No, it's not, because that's like, she's one of the biggest pop stars,
yeah.
even though she's like maybe a bad person.
Well, that's why I meant maybe a bad example.
But like, is he gonna do a Dua Lipa parody or like a Olivia Rodrigo parody or like a Harry Styles parody when no one really talks about them except for Harry Styles fans who will not like his parody?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, let's use like,
Harry Styles?
no, there was another
Justin
one you
Bieber?
said. Olivia Rodrigo.
Okay. Who has a new song out that I kind of fucking like.
Is it the one that's like kind of slower?
I don't know.
I don't know. Because she released a single like within the past month or two that I
I
listened
think
to
she's
and
released
I did like
like
it.
2 in the last.
Okay,
like,
then maybe it was 2 songs ago that I listened to and I liked.
Is it about a vampire?
I don't know. Don't remember.
Okay. So it's really helpful.
But like Olivia Rodrigo, I'd say is one of the newer artists that I feel like would have the most recognizable song if Weird Al did a parody of it. But even then, like, I feel like there's still a bunch of people that like Olivia Rodrigo's not even on their radar. Because I feel like there's so many artists. There's so much. I mean, it's, to bring it back on topic, like similar to how there's so much content that, and it kind of makes parodies and spoofs not really work anymore. Like in the film space, it would work the same in the music space where it's like there's just so much. Like he parodies a Joji song. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Like, yeah, Joji fans will be like, holy shit. But like, you could say that about almost any artist, even the biggest artists in the world. Like, I didn't listen to Harry Styles' most recent album.
Is that the one with Watermelon Sugar? Or does he have another one?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I did listen to the Watermelon Sugar album, so. We got to just like wrap it up, man.
I got 3 questions.
Okay, we're going to wrap.
What was your favorite night plot? Lancelot?
Lancelot, yeah.
Yeah, Lancelot.
Although I don't think he's my favorite knight. I think my favorite knight is Belvedere.
Who would you cast Adam Driver as? This is a pretty interesting question. I can give you some names. We've got King Arthur of the Britons.
Sure.
Sir Lancelot. He also... Oh, that's John Cleese. played Sir Lancelot. I did not recognize any of these guys, even though I kind
Me
of know
neither.
what the Monty Python guys look like. I guess because they're just so young, and I've only seen them when they're old. Patsy, Arthur's servant. Oh, that was Terry Gilliam. Interesting. Sir Robin, Sir Belvedere, Sir Galahad, maybe the explosion guy, Ted, as Adam Driver.
Tim.
Yeah,
maybe. I was gonna put him as Sir Lancelot, honestly.
What about that little like guy who's at the bridge?
Oh, that.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Are there any Italians for him to play?
No, there's French guys.
Yeah, that's not the same. Where would you rank this?
I'd cast him as the bunny. Where would I... Okay, I'm just going to quickly say my overall thoughts here.
Sure.
Overall thoughts,
Couldn't
it's
get
got
to
some
those?
great bits and some classic lines. It's a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously. Perhaps the one that does that the best. Like, not taking itself seriously.
Okay.
Some of the bits were slower than others, though. Anyway,
There you
those
go.
are... Ranking-wise...
I'd like to hear what you say. I think we should make it a thing where the person who proposes the movie should have to rank it first.
I say the other way around.
I think you're a scumbag.
But I think it should be the other way around. That being said, I've listened to like the past bunch of episodes. I make you choose first almost every time.
Yeah.
So I'll choose first this time. Probably like...
Let's see if he knows where I'm going to put it. Let's see if he puts it
under
same
the
place as
Batman,
me.
above Wet Hot American Summer.
Above Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah.
I guess it's a little funnier.
I do think Wet Hot American Summer and this movie are similar in their like disjointed, like kind of thrown together, but like very clearly like clever and a bunch of people just having fun making a movie.
I think I just laugh a little more Wet Hot American Summer, though.
I guess so.
Like, that's my only thing.
I'd be fine to put it below Wet Hot, but because actually before I concede that, where were you thinking?
I was thinking about there.
Okay.
Like, somewhere in that area.
Definitely below the Batman, I think. I think the Batman's just like made
just a
too
lot
well.
better. Yeah. I think below Wet Hot American Summer is where I would personally put it. If you're okay with that, buddy, if you're okay, hey. You know, if you're gonna like kill yourself at a Thomas movie, just like get it over with.
Here's the thing: that are we okay putting this above Wedding Crashers?
Yes.
Okay. Then if you're that quick to answer, then
'Cause
I'm
Wedding
fine
Crashers
putting it
is,
right
like,
there.
A little slower and more annoying, and somehow more hateful than a movie that came out in the 70s, which is
Yeah.
like kind of surprising. I was fully expecting there to be something that was like kind of yikes, and the only thing where I was like, this is a weird joke that could go bad, but it doesn't, is the Knights of Ni, where it's
Sure.
like, I feel like if they were a lot edgier, that could have been really
They would have
rough.
like been alluding to something
Yeah.
else. Okay.
But it's just like, oh, they're saying something stupid.
yeah.
but, like, that's kind of the worst
especially
thing
then
in the
turning it
movie.
into like they're afraid of the word it.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, it's just stupid.
Yeah, they're just like fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Whereas like Wedding Crashers is like kind of mean and
Yeah,
like,
I guess it is
offensive.
impressive that there's nothing that ages poorly in this movie.
yeah.
Like I'm trying.
Like
I
there's not
thought
even,
you were
like-
gonna say like maybe the scene with like all of the women like trying to have sex with Sir
But
Galahad.
even then, it's like
They're all
it's
being
a little like misogynistic because it's like women just want to have sex, but also like it's a castle full of women. So acknowledging that like that women have a sex drive and like they like like I feel like even that's a little like, oh, they're not just like doing this.
yeah.
They're not getting tricked into this by the knight. They're like
Yeah.
actively pursuing the knight because they're just like in a castle with a bunch of women and they haven't seen a man in like a year.
Yeah. It's like especially having Sir Galahad be so like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. It like, it kind of like emphasizes that all of the women there are like in control of the situation.
Yeah. It's not like he's like giving them a love potion.
Can I be honest? That makes me like realizing that nothing aged bad in a movie
Makes you
this
wanna put it
old
up
makes me
more?
want to put it up just a little bit.
Okay.
Still probably not
do
above
you
the
thinking?
Batman, but I think just right.
I mean,
above
something
Wet Hot.
else that ages poorly in one of these movies is the White Rastas. 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah, but the joke in 10 Things I Hate About You is that it's bad.
I'm joking.
Okay. Anyway, would you be okay with putting it above Wet Hot, actually?
Yeah, we can do that. Because
Okay.
there is a couple things in Wet Hot that are... Not that this is a list of, like, what's the most morally right movie. But I think when we get down to the nitty-gritty, like... I could probably recommend... I don't know if I could recommend this to someone, but, like...
I feel like there's a certain person I could recommend this to. But, like...
I would have to be, like, fucking stoned to be like, let's watch Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah. Here's the thing, too. We haven't really talked about this. I feel like we are on completely different wavelengths as to the criteria of ranking these movies and what the list itself means.
I think we should also, at the end of the year, do our personal rankings of the list.
You said this a couple times, and I agree.
Yeah. Just to see how it would be different.
Yeah.
But I think we're building something that will be hung up in the Academy Museum.
Smithsonian. Oh. The Museum of Modern Art.
More like the Museum of Modern Fart.
I knew you were going to say that, and that's a good one. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode. We end it with Monty Python and the Holy Grail sitting at 26 on the list, right under the Batman and above Wet Hot American Summer. Next week, we're going to be talking about...
Everybody Wants Some.
Yep. Which
Richard
is,
Linklater. Good movie. Interesting. I'm excited
right.
to see what Adam says about it.
We'll talk about it next week. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We love and appreciate you. Hey, if you like the podcast and all the
it.
tangents we go on, feel free to... we would really appreciate it if you shared it around. You don't got to, like, post it on The Rock's Instagram. But if you just, like, told a friend...
I think he would, like, block whoever did that because we're so hateful towards him.
Actually, genuine question.
Yeah.
Someone hacks The Rock's Instagram account and for 30 minutes shows, like, a link and an advertisement for our podcast. It's then taken down, and The Rock... accuses us of hacking his account. We show that we didn't do it ourselves. Someone else
Remember
did.
he said, quick question before starting this.
It's just a hypothetical. And then he doesn't sue us because he realizes it's not us, but he does hate us. Still worth it?
I don't fucking care.
I agree.
Still, I'm excited. Here's something that I've been waiting for. I want Fast X to hit streaming. I was going to buy the Blu-ray last weekend, and then I was like, I cannot afford to buy the Blu-ray.
Dude, I had that with Inception at the fucking thrift
Convenience
store.
store?
It was like $10, and I was like, I still don't think I can.
Anyway, once this podcast hits big, we hack The Rock. Someone else hacks The Rock. Then we'll be making dollar bills. Also, I think The Rock's fan base would be like cancer. Anyway.
Last thing I'm going to say is this is about the longest a podcast has gone where we talked about a movie this little.
Oh, well.
Bye, guys.